Or yet, it's too early. And such. So if you have an interest in joining the board or an interest in joining the board, maybe at an at-large position, we can shuffle people around. But we are looking for new people and we'd like somebody to join us. If you're not sure what position you want to be in, just talk to us and we'll find a place for you. So, but we do need somebody to step in Marcel's, as Marcel will be stepping down. Who shops on Amazon? Raise your hand. Okay, so everybody does. So if you're shopping on Amazon, if you go to Zero Beat or you go to the website, there's information on how to change your charity to the HCRA. And for every purchase you make, not every purchase, for most of the purchases you make, 0.5% of your purchases will be donated to the HCRA as a charity. And so whether you spend $10 or you spend $1,000, 0.5% of your purchase may come to us, and it helps the club. It doesn't cost you anything. It's Amazon's donation per se, and we appreciate it. So go to hcra.org to learn more. Download and look at the directions on Zero Beat, and the club appreciates anything you can do for us. So that's Amazon.com. Set your charity to the Hampden County Radio Association. One of the things we've always done in the past is we've had what we call a share the knowledge sessions, where we've had different subjects come up, and we've held classes at the hospital on different things and different subjects. We've built antennas. We've learned about DX labs. We've learned about programming and other things. So we have set up 2 share the knowledge sessions for January and February. So besides this meeting, there's 2 additional meetings, optional meetings that you can attend. They are on Tuesday nights. They start at 7 p.m. and they'll go anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. Inside Zero Beat, I have links to the Zoom meetings, and they'll be published on the Facebook page and on the HCRA email list. But you can catch them on Zero Beat. They're already up there. I'm working on meetings for March and April. But coming up on January 18th, my friend Rich, K2UPS, will be talking to us about the Long Island CW Club. So especially Ted and Buddy there and Chris, you guys can learn about CW, more on CW. But that's going to be a lot of fun. Rich is a very dynamic speaker. He loves CW. He spoke to the club about 1.5 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, a few years ago, before COVID. And he loves CW with straight keys and with the single paddle cootie keys. And anyways, he's going to join us Tuesday, the 18th at 7 p.m. And it's open to everybody, free meetings. On Tuesday, January 25th, Corey KU1U, who's coming to us from Maine, he's going to talk on D-Star. What is it and how do you use it? And I know there's a bunch of guys using DMR, and D-Star is a different digital mode. So he's going to tell us all about that. And that's on Tuesday, the 25th. Excuse me. All the Zoom links are current in Zero Beat, so you can go looking there, and they'll be online. They're free to download. I think I saw Aaron check in. Is there anything going on with Franklin County, Aaron?
Yeah, we have our breakfast tomorrow morning, and we are having a meeting on Monday. The newsletter is going to go out just as soon as I can finish my Zoom link in it. For the meeting, we're going to be talking about digital interfaces. So getting started with digital modes. This is really about picking a digital interface and some of the troubleshooting. So it's very, very beginner oriented. And then Winter Field Day is coming up rapidly for those people who like to operate in the cold. I will be operating on Lake Wyola, assuming it's frozen over. And anyone's welcome to come out and join and try some QRP sideband or whatever it is you like to do. I'll have a couple radios and a little tent shelter on the lake.
And if it's not frozen?
Then I guess we get to practice swimming. No, then I'll be in the park of the part of the state park.
Yep, yep.
Maritime Mobile.
Polar Bear Club, maybe? Cool.
No, I if I was 30 years younger, sure, but no, parts will freeze off that I like.
What time is your meeting on Monday, and where
It's
can
at 7
people
o'clock.
obtain the link?
It's at 7 o'clock. It'll be both on the Franklin County website, and if you get our newsletter, you'll get that in the next couple of hours.
Okay, so what's the website for everybody?
fcarc.org.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Not for me.
Okay, anybody else have any other announcements for tonight?
Hey, Larry, I got one.
Yep, go ahead, Fred.
So, folks, just to let you know, we're going to be holding the First Division Town Hall meeting for all ARL members and anyone who's interested on February 16th. That's a Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. And we'll be posting a Zoom link on the New England Division website, nediv.arl.org, probably in the next week or so that you can figure out how to do it. So that'll be a good time to come and get an update on what's going on in the division and, give all of us some feedback.
Cool. Anybody have any questions for Fred? Quite good tonight. All righty. So we have our own Charlie, KC1IKA, is our guest speaker. He's been building these really cool power and emergency portable boxes and everything. And I'm going to let him take the floor. The floor is yours, Charlie. Tell us what's going on with these and how we can do the same.
Well, thank you, Larry, and hello to everybody. Happy New Year and safe operating. Yeah, ever since I built my HF kit for the show and tell last year, or this 2021, so it was last year, I sort of got the building bug, and I built probably half a dozen different boxes. So I've written up a handout to go along with this presentation. Vanessa was kind enough to put it up on the website. So it's about 18 pages plus cover. So it'll give you an overview of what I go over tonight. I'm going to go over various sections, the various go boxes, ham shack power system, and other stuff, I call it. So I've been a ham operator, a little bit about me, a ham operator for since 2017. It's not that long, but from the beginning, I decided to get into emergency communications. And part of emergency communications is being able to operate if the grid goes down, if cell towers go down, if power goes down, you got to be able to operate. And you may need to go somewhere other than where you are. So I decided to make up some portable kits. And one of the first things you have to decide, and this is for everybody, whether you're POTA, SOTA, MCOM, whatever, you have to decide what you want to do, where you want to do it, and how you want to get there. Because there's a guy I follow in Norway, he's man portable, carries everything. I'm too old for that stuff. I don't even want to make a big box with everything in it because I still got to carry it down to the car. So that's why I went various boxes that I can pick up what I need. I don't need to carry the tuner and the antennas and the HF box and the battery and the everything if I'm just setting up a VHF for setup. So I decided to go modular, and that's what I've in the past you might have seen the stack over here, and I've broken it down so I can get to it earlier. I'm going through that stack tonight. It's going to be very brief. I'm not going to go into specific how to build it because you've got all different choices, but I'm going to show you what I did for myself, what choices I made. And as ham radio, there's all kinds of choices and all kinds of preferences. So the first thing I want to mention is, or show you, is my very first VHF UHF box. And it's typical in a ammo can. It's very portable. It's all self-contained. Basically, it's got dual Anderson power poles in the side for charging or drawing off the battery. everything I made that's got a battery in it can be used to power anything else that I made or have for equipment. So it's all cross compatible. But basically, I've got a light source. I'll go over this later. I've got a 10 amp hour battery in here. I really would have liked to have done this live at the hospital, but hey, do what you got to do. A little inexpensive radio power source, 10 amp hour battery, dual charging ports, dual and some power ports. You just plug in the microphone. I've got a short cable so I can plug in an antenna. I have a pair of J-poles, UHF, VHF J-poles I sometimes keep in here. And basically you're on the air. Just have to put up the J-poles, plug it in, turn it on, and you're functional. So that was a fairly simple. The hardest thing was figuring out where to drill the holes for this bracket on the side. That's all common components. Took me a couple hours to build this. So that wasn't too bad for a beginning. And again, I've got everything in one little box, and this I can carry for as long as I need to. It doesn't weigh much with the lithium iron phosphate. I prefer that battery over seal lead acid, and I'll go over that later on why that is. That's my first little box, a little VHF unit. That's what I call VHF UHF version 1. Version 2, I've used ICOM 2730. That's in the back here. I've been using this to do my, I'm net control. I'm net manager for Western Mass, for those who aren't aware, assistant section emergency coordinator for Bob as net manager. So I do a lot of the nets as net control. So I had been using my 9700 in the shack here, but on standby, it draws an amp and a half. This only draws half an amp. So I can use a lot longer on the batteries. There's two batteries internal to the box. Again, I can go internal power and hook up an antenna. I've got the Bluetooth adapter, so I can monitor both frequencies. I can use the Bluetooth and not get feedback. And it's really easy to set up or take down. When you power it off, you basically unplug the microphone. I've got an 8-foot vertical in the attic. I've been using just 5 watts to do all the nets. I can't put anything outside due to my sister who owns the house. Basically flip the radio upside down, put the microphone inside, close it up, and you're good to go. So it's really easy to set up, really easy to take down. Again, just flip it right side up, plug in the microphone, attach the antenna. And I've got multiple antennas. I've got a right angle attachment on the back. Everything I've made, I made it easy to hook up to. So there's always a right angle antenna attachment for the coax. That way I can either have a vertical antenna, I can put on a tactical antenna right off the radio. I can put on a regular 8-inch antenna, 6-inch antenna, and operate right out of the box without anything to put up anywhere. That's my UHF VHF version 2. I got to check to see where I'm going from here. So that's version 2. And then we have my backpack radio. This is truly man portable. For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, the Icon 705. I did buy the backpack. It's UHF, VHF, and HF, and it's got a place for the radio. It's attached in there. It's got a mounting plate on the side for an antenna mount. That was the most difficult thing. Everything else just slips in. I had to figure out how to put an antenna mount on this plate. I had a spare trunk lid mount, but the problem with that is when you put it on the trunk lid, your trunk's open, so you can get to the bottom of the bracket to put the set screws in. When I slid this onto this attached plate, I couldn't get to the bottom. So what I ended up doing was where the set screws were, I drilled through the bracket and I can put them in through the top side now. So that's got a BNC connector, a short cable, and the microphone's on the side, the radio's in there, got storage for tactical antennas, the HF antenna. Inside you've got extra batteries in the bottom. I've got a tuner, charge controller, another battery, so I'm running it to full 10 amps or 10 watts out of there. Got an measurement device for setting up the antenna. So it works real well. I can put my tablet in the back of the backpack and run with that. I can hook up my tablet wirelessly to the radio and do digital modes without having to have a bunch of cables and less interference and less problems with that. I've got a plug here, like with the charge controller. I've got a 50-watt folding panel in the trunk all the time. I can plug that in, charge it as I need it. But it's a very handy radio and very easy to set up because Icon did all the work. But one thing with portable operations, depending upon how small and how efficient you want to go, it'll cost you more money. So going with ICOM, it costs more than going with UHF, VHF, but that's because you're going more efficient, and efficiency is going to cost you. So that's why I went with that. Not that I like spending more money, but fortunately, I'm lucky, and those who know me, I actually won 2 radios at the Hamfest out in Boxborough one year and one another year. I sold them, and one of them paid for that radio and one of them paid for my 9700. So that came in handy. The next thing that I'm going to mention is the radio that I built for the show and tell last year, and that's a HF rig. That was a lot more complicated. That was the biggest one I'm going to build. And again, got interconnectability. It's got charge input, solar input, DC out, DC in, or however we want to operate it. The bag on the top is for headphones and a DTV antenna, because I figure if the grid's gone down and the power systems and communications are down, the TV stations are going to be broadcasting just updates on whatever the situation is. So I've got DTV capability built into the box. I've got the Discovery Lab 599 HF, really thin. That's it right there in the lid. And I can do digital modes and everything. I've got the monitor that'll run the Pi and the DTV receiver. The charge controller, 3 batteries, storage, external connectors for antennas, and you get to choose from internal or external power, solar charge or regular wall or commercial charger. So it's a little bit more concise. I'm going to be getting rid of the Raspberry Pi out of here. Now that I've used it more often, there are issues with reliability for the software, for the digital modes especially. So I'm going to be switching over to a micro PC Windows system, because the Windows software works real well with the digital stuff in that one. Here's one of these. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a full Windows system. It'll fit in the box in the storage area. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, USB 3 connectors, COM port, everything, LAN port, all built in. So I'll be able to run the HF off that. So that's the HF rig that I put together. And then we need power. Those units have power, but sometimes you need more power. So that's where it came with the power box. And this is three holes in the side, an on-off switch, a meter, and you got 12-volt DC out and charge in. The charge in is actually connected directly to the battery. So besides the 12-volt DC out, I can run directly out of here for if I want to hook it up to something else. And it's just a simple box with 4 batteries inside and the wiring to do the switches. So this will power the equipment a lot longer, being 28 amp hours. Lithium iron phosphate again. I'll go over why I like that. But that's the battery box that I made. And it just sort of snowballed after a few things. And then a real simple build kit. I like having all kinds of communications available because you never know if I'm supporting Westfield CERT or if I'm doing just supporting a local 5K race or whatever. You don't know what equipment's going to be available. So I've got handheld CBs. Those aren't in a case or anything, it's just a walkie-talkie style. But I also have a box with GMRS, FRS radios. And that's got, and this is a simple build. You basically have your equipment and figure out how big a box it'll fit in. It's got 4 handhelds. It's got a base unit in there that'll do repeater for GMRS, FRS. And it also has 2 dual chargers that are USB powered and a tactical antenna to hang off the base station. I almost had to use this. We did a CERT activation just for supporting a book signing down on the Westfield Green. And the person that was in charge of bringing the city's radios, it was our first time with CERT doing something like this actively. And he thought he'd be more efficient by just topping off the batteries in the morning by putting them in the commercial chargers. Unfortunately, what he didn't realize is they cycle the batteries. So when he put them in for a half hour before coming to the event, he actually discharged them instead of charging them. And they were only about a third charge when he came and we went to hand them out. So I had this as a backup unit. I had the battery. It was summer. I had a USB powered fan sitting right next to me. So it was a nice little chance to deploy and have a backup plan, because you always want a plan A, B, and usually a C. So that's what I usually do. So that's that one. And then what else have I got here to show you? All right. Okay, I've got all these batteries, battery power, everything's got Anderson. Well, what about the people with USBs and Apple and everything else? Well, came up with a distribution box so that I didn't want to put 15 or 10 different devices on each of the boxes I built. So what I did is I built one box. It's got dual Anderson, 4 Anderson power pole connections. So I plug into one for power source. I've got 3 out. I've got 2 regular 12-volt jacks. I've got USB power. I've got a voltmeter, and I've got more USB, even USB-C. So it's got just about everything you can think of as far as hooking up on the field. And you can build this with whatever options you want. There's dozens of choices for what you want to put in here. I put the mounting on the bottom of the box, and that allowed me to use the inside of the box as storage. And there's another light. I've got a handy little 5-volt USB voltage and current meter, so I know how much power I can draw off different things. I've got a monitor for 12 volts that'll display current draw and amp hour draw. I've got another, if I need even more Anderson connectors, I've got another connector block. I've got a splitter. I've got C and micro and mini cables for charging. So it's basically a way to hook everything up when I get to wherever I'm going. This one I didn't document. I wish I had. One thing that I found out as soon as I went to drill a hole in the bottom was there's a rubber liner glued inside, and that was only around the top edge, so I was able to cut it out and glue it back in. But I didn't document this one. So what I did was I built a smaller one. This one's only got 6 connections on it, 6 options, but you can do whatever you like. I put this in the lid because it fit a little bit nicer and didn't have to go through the bottom through that gasket. And I documented it. I left it open for tonight. I'm going to cover this eventually with to keep it insulated, and it's got plenty of storage. This is also on the website, the HCRA website, as far as how I built this one. So the instructions are on there for that. Now, with all the connection boxes, you also need cables. So I've got a portable cable box. It's got all kinds of cables in there. I don't own an Apple device, but just in case you are with me and need to charge your iPhone, I've got an Apple cable too. So I tried to cover just about every type of cable you could need to charge or connect something. But these boxes, you can use them for whatever will fit in them. Basically, they're watertight. They're got the rubber liner. One thing that I did with all my boxes, you can't see it here, but there's I got some reflective tape and put them on all the boxes, and I'll go into that in a little bit on why I did that. So that's the cabling. Now antennas, my favorite that I take with me, I work at Barnes Airport, company that maintains corporate jets, and I can set up during lunch. And one of the quickest things I can set up is the super antenna. And I love my super antenna. It's HF, but I did get the 2-meter coil, so I can do, it's a duplexer. So with one coax, I can do HF. I've got the 80-meter coil. I can sign into an 80-meter net and then switch the radio, the ICOM 705 over to VHF and use the same antenna, same coax. And it's real handy. And all fits in one little bag, and I've got a lot of the options, and the bag came with it. So that's real handy for having a portable antenna. And then when I'm setting it up, a lot of people complained about the 705 that didn't have an antenna tuner built in. It's a QRP radio. You're only doing 5 or 10 watts. If you don't have a tuned antenna, you're going to lose most of your signal. And an antenna tuner, as you all know, doesn't tune the antenna. It just adjusts what the radio sees. So you're going to be losing a lot of your signal if you don't tune your antenna. So I've got an antenna meter that I, when I put up the diamond or dipoles or end fed or whatever, I can tune whatever I need to and adjust the antenna to match so I get the best output. So that's always with me, and that's battery powered. So the between the super antenna and that, I can usually get down to 1-to-1 pretty close, or 1.2-to-1. So that's a real handy thing to have. And this is all modular. It's all, take what you need that day. If it's just the backpack and the antennas, or if it's the box with the UHF, VHF, and a tactical antenna to screw onto it, I can operate that way. Now, as far as charging the stuff, I've got 2 40-watt solar panels in the window in my shack, just over to the side here, behind the curtain. I couldn't mount anything to the outside of the house, so I made an aluminum frame and press fit, and it's held up in 40-mile-an-hour wind, so I guess I did okay. But that's on a good sunny day on a Sunday, and this is what the solar panel is vertical, so it's not optimum positioning. I get better power in the winter because the sun's lower. I can draw 2 amps in charging to my ham shack, and with the ICOM 2730, if I'm operating on 5 watts output, I'm using slightly less than 2 amps an hour. So the 40-watt panel keeps up with the radio during the net, so I can operate indefinitely in the sunshine. I also have for 5-volt operation, because you've got cell phones, you've got tablets, you've got some of my radios. The new ICOM 52 charges off a USB. So I've got a pair of folding panels just for 5-watt or 5-volt. So I've got the 2 panels that are in the window. I've got a 160-watt panel that I got to figure out how I want to do the mounting so I can get it in the window with my sister's approval. I've got a folding 100-watt panel that I used to hang out the window. I've got a 50-watt folding panel in the car. It gets me, if I hooked everything up, hanging out all the different windows, I've got about 25 amps coming in per hour on a sunny day. So I can keep operating. And then what you need is battery storage, right? So you can't just run the radios, you got to have a battery. Behind the small monitor here, I'll power this up. Wake up my Raspberry. Behind the small monitor, I have a toolbox with 5 10-amp-hour lithium iron phosphate. And I've got 2 more in the smaller toolbox. So I've got 70 amp hours of power running just the radios here. Behind the big monitor, at work, we get rid of our emergency batteries, so seal lead acids, 7.2 amp hour. So I've got 8 of those behind that monitor, and that all the computer equipment and everything is powered by a power supply through a Epic Power Gate that automatically switches. If the power goes off, it goes to the backup batteries, and it can also charge from the solar panels. So when there's a power outage, I don't have this light on. I just have my portable, my little, what I call my lollipop light. And this is the light that I use when I'm doing the nets. If I turn off the power, you don't know. If I notice the lights out on the power supply, maybe I would notice there's a power outage. But everything switches over so fast, the battery backup, that I got one little light out on the back, the blinking blue light. It's charging that little bit of power that it took when I shut everything off. But so you got to have power, you got to have portability, you got to have antennas, and you got to have a way to charge everything. So that's most of what I have for equipment. Oh, and the monitor. This one's 12 volt power. This one's 120 volt power. But that, if you notice, when I shut off the power supply, nothing happened. This little box underneath here steps 12 volts up to the 19 volts I needed for the monitor. And that's now running off a 12 volt DC. So everything in my shack runs off of DC and charges off of solar. If there's a big storm coming up, or a hurricane or a tropical storm, and I've used the batteries and not had a lot of sun, I will charge it using the mains, the commercial power, just to top it off before, to get it in prime condition. If the power goes off, if we're expecting an ice storm, I'll top it off real quick, charge it all up all the way. So everything here is run off of batteries. Everything when I'm mobile is running off of batteries. When I'm doing the nets, I'm running off of batteries. I don't have to adjust if we're having a skywarn situation or emergency situation, because I operate this way all the time. If you're going to be doing emergency communications, like the NTS, National Traffic System, you can't just go, okay, once a year I'll try sending a National Traffic System radiogram. You got to do it so you do it right whenever the time comes. So that's the charging system I've got. Now the light, as you saw, I've got my little battery, USB powered, and this is a dimmable. I can't show it with these lights, but I can dim it down so far that my battery bricks that I use for my 5 volt, I've got 26,800 milliamp, which is basically 27 amp hour battery for 5 volts. Got 4 of these. If I dim the light too far, the battery won't sense it and it'll shut down. So it's that slow of consumption for those lights. Then if I need more light in here, I've got LED strips, so I can run that. But they take about an amp. This one on high power takes a quarter of an amp. So I can use that a lot better, a lot more efficiently. So it's all about efficiency, basically. And I like the 2730 because, as I said earlier, on standby, it only takes 0.47 amps, whereas the 9700 takes about 1.5 amps. So if I'm running this at full power, power output is related to the power you're drawing. And some people, I put some examples in the paperwork that's on the website. If I'm on full 50 watt power, this will drive 8.9 amps coming in off the trigger. If I'm drawing mid or 15 watt, I'm drawing only 4.7 amps. If I'm on 5 watt output during transmitting, I'm only 2.75 amps. And like I said earlier, the 2 amps coming out of the solar panels keeps up, because if I'm running a net and I've tracked time-wise, I'm only running 65% transmit, 35% receive. So 65% of the time I'm pulling the 2.375 amps, but the rest of the time I'm only pulling less than 0.5 amp. So I can keep up with the 2 amps coming in through the panel and run a whole net. On Sunday mornings, I can run 2 nets. And at the end of the nets, after an hour, my batteries are at a higher level or fully charged than they were when I started. That works out really well. And speaking about the batteries, like I said earlier, I'd tell you why I chose lithium iron phosphate. And I use the Dakota battery brand. When I first got into MCOM, I was using my 7300 on a 35 amp hour seal lead acid. And seal lead acid, you can only draw down about half the capacity. Lithium iron phosphate, I can draw down almost 100%. So I get more capacity. But the really nice thing is on the seal lead acid, I was watching the voltage drop as I'm using the radio because it just can't sustain the voltage. And on the lithium iron phosphate, for the whole, if I 10 amp hour battery, the whole 10 amp hours, I'm drawing the full voltage on the battery. And then at the end, it drops off like a cliff. But you get more battery usage. You get a couple thousand recharges versus 300-400 recharges. So yeah, they're more expensive, but they can they'll last you a lot longer. These are warranted 11 years for the lithium iron phosphate from Dakota. The reason why I chose Dakota versus Bioenno or some of the other brands, I also didn't want to have to buy a 100 amp hour battery to start out. I wanted to start with the 10 amp hour and work my way up. The Dakota Lithium said right on the website I can put them in parallel for more power. So I started with 2 batteries. I bought a couple more and I bought a couple more. Now I got a lot of batteries. With some of the other brands, it says right on the website, you cannot put them in parallel. The battery management computer module inside will not handle parallel operations. So you got to buy what you want to use. And the extra expense was worth going with these. So that's the only reason why I went to Dakota Lithium. So that's that choice. The other stuff, like I said, everything here has a reflective strip. If I walk in here with a flashlight at night, or I'm camping, or I'm out in the field, a dark room or a dark field with a dark black box, these light up real well with the reflective tape. And it's basically pinstriping tape, and it's self-adhesive reflective vinyl pinstripes. So it works real well and it's real inexpensive. So I put that on everything. There's a picture in the handout that shows the lights out in here with a little bit of a light. And I could see my stack over on the counter over here. I could see this lid, and I could see another stripe over on the side. I'm like, what the heck's that? There was a package on the shelf. It was lit up too. Oh, okay, there's my package of leftovers. And so that's some of the other stuff. One thing that I also want to mention, backups. Always want backups for communication. If I have my cell phone, I'm hiking. I'm doing, if I were to be doing a parks on the air or peaks on the air, and I broke down my equipment and I'm hiking back down the hill or the mountain and I fall and twist my ankle, am I going to take the time to set up the radio and try to get a signal? My cell phone's got no signal because of being down in a valley somewhere. Well, what do? You're stuck there. I have always thought about buying an Iridium sat phone, but I can never justify the expense. The phone itself is expensive. The monthly fee is expensive. And then I found this thing. It's called a Zoello or Zolio. And it's basically a personal communicator. I can Bluetooth it to my phone. I can send a text, or there's a checkbox here. I can send I'm okay, this is my coordinates type message to 4 people on my phone list. I can text anybody in my phone email list or text list, contact list. And it also has worst case situation, a SOS button that's monitored 24/7. What it does is, like I said, it connects to my phone and it'll try to go through Wi-Fi through my phone first. If that can't do that, it tries to use my data plan on my phone. If it can't do that, it uses the Iridium satellite system. So I've been out in the middle of a campsite and send a message to my buddy with absolutely no cell service, no Wi-Fi, nothing. And it went through right away on the Iridium system. $130 on sale. And it cost me $20 a month, and I can cut it back to $3 a month if I put it on the idle plan. Plus I have a tracking, an app that goes with it with mapping software, and it'll actually do a bread trail. And I can send every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, once an hour, a message to my buddy and it gives my position. It says, I'm okay, but here's where I am. So this is a very good thing for backup communications. If all my radios went down and it was an emergency situation, I could text somebody outside the area through the Iridium satellite system. So it's just another backup. I've got like 5 levels of backup, and this is the final one, but I use it, practice it with a friend of mine. I got messages from him today when he went out shopping. So basically that's all the gear that I've put together over the last basically year. A little less than a year. I built a lot of that stuff. The batteries took me about 2 years, and this setup took me about 2-3 years to get that finalized. But it's all easy to do. It's some of it's not that inexpensive, but if it's what you want to do for emergency communications, it's what it takes. So that's it. That's my presentation. If you got any questions, feel free.
Charlie, what kind of boxes are you using? You're not using Nanook or Pelican boxes there, because those suckers are
No.
wicked expensive.
Now, I got them off of eBay. I mean, for Amazon. Unfortunately, I went to check to see what the current price was, and they're no longer available. But what's the tool shop? Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight. I bought a couple of boxes from Harbor Freight. The ones that I made, these are still available on Amazon. They're about like 15-20 bucks for this one. I think I paid like 30 for the ones for the radios and stuff. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Anybody have any questions?
Oh, I have a comment for Charlie, that's for sure. You know, and I've heard Charlie talk about his shack and his stuff in the past, but you know, just going through there and looking at what he does and how he describes it is, you know, you can't ask for anything more out of a person that's really passionate about emergency communications, because not only does he think about his equipment, he thinks about what he may need out in the field as far as connectivity, even if he doesn't even use this stuff. But he's also got his shack set up so that if something goes down, you know, he's got a full-blown shack. So he's got a well-rounded, well-thought-out, we'll say, instrumentation system. And I applaud you. That's a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
How long can you run, Charlie? I mean, if we have like a Snowmageddon like we had, what, 11, 12 years ago?
If I run the 2730, I've got the figure here somewhere. Worst case, with all my batteries connected together, I can pull the one out of my car. I've got the 35 amp hour that I try to use here. I've got in the car on a battery isolator to run my 4100 when the car shut off, and that charges there too. I can run a couple hundred hours, you know, as net control, like 200-300 hours with no sunshine. If we can get a couple hours of sunshine every few days, if I hang all my extra panels out, I can recharge in 5 hours of sunshine of all my batteries. So I can basically run indefinitely. But if there was no sunshine and I couldn't recharge, I can run 280-300 hours with the 2730 as a net control. Unless I run it on full power, that I can go about 30 hours.
Cool.
No recharge.
I have a question for Charlie.
Sure,
Go ahead,
Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Yeah, the controllers for the charge controllers. I'm assuming you have one for the field and one for, because you have backups for everything. Are they different or you use the same controller?
The same controller. Yeah. I've got 4 of one of them, and I've got 2 of another style, but the 4 of my primary ones. So yeah, I've got backup upon backup upon backup. Yeah.
What are those?
Well, the easiest would be for me to figure out which box I've got the easiest access to. Oh, this one. Oh, okay. It is Buddy Pole Power Mini. So it's a Buddy Pole Power Mini. It's got solar in, battery in, a USB port, and 2 loads. And it shows you the amount of power you've drawn, the amount of solar that's gone in, the net difference. It's no noise as far as I can tell when I'm running it for the HF and VHF, UHF. I tried a different, the other one I have two of, I was getting HF noise from the charge controller. So this one works really, really well.
Thanks.
So Charlie, what's the weight difference between the SLA, the high capacity SLA, and the lifeboat?
I have the 10 amp hour LiPo is about 2 pounds. So I can, for 30 amp hour battery, I've got 6 pounds there. And a still lead acid, you're probably talking 40. So it's a big difference, big difference. Yeah.
Somebody else have
Charlie.
a question?
Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah, Larry.
You were using you're showing the Lab 599 Discovery that
Yep.
you have in the case behind you.
Yep.
That one there, I was reading on reviews on EHAM, and they were saying that was supposed to be the lowest for receive milliamp draw. And
Oh, it's insanely low.
is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't remember what it was. It's down around an amp or less than an amp. It's like a tenth of an amp on receive. It's ridiculously low. Yeah.
I was reading on that, and they also were, there was a couple of comments. One comment says it's water resistant, another one says it's waterproof. Which one is it?
I never use the term waterproof because there's always a condition to where you can exceed that. It'll operate. You can throw it in the snow and you can have it rained on. Yeah, it's very water resistant, almost waterproof. It depends upon if you got the caps on the connectors. That's a difference. So any connector you're not using should have a cap on it. But yeah, it's very rugged. Very lightweight, very low consumption, fantastic ears, and you hear stuff unreal. The first time I plugged it in at work, and before I built the box, I was picking up Kentucky and stuff off of just a very small antenna, and it was just unreal what I could hear on that. I think I even picked up Spain, and I was talking to somebody on the my super antenna in a quick setup at lunchtime. I think I was down in maybe over in Wisconsin, just real quick at lunch, just throw it on and talk to somebody. It's great radio. It's fantastic.
And who's it made by?
It's made over in Russia.
Is it?
Yeah, yep. It took me quite a while to get it. Like all the good stuff, had to wait for it to get approved, but I'm really glad I did because I can't wait to get it set up for digital stuff and bring it up and have a whole digital package on HF side. I'll be able to set it up real quick.
Because it's like almost like a mil-spec type radio that would
Oh,
be
yeah.
used by a military or backpack HF radios. And
Yeah.
I found out that this one's about as close as you can get for a ham radio manufacturer to make, you know. Nobody else makes it as watertight or anything and rugged as that one. I've been reading a lot of those have been coming up lately on EHAM reviews, so I had to ask you about it.
Yeah, if you go to the website, it shows you the manufacturing. It's milled out of a solid block of aluminum, and it's got all sorts of isolate compartments milled out of the two halves of aluminum and for shielding, and it's quite an amazing piece of equipment that they built.
Charlie,
Thanks a lot.
Charlie, can I ask you about your solar panels for portable? Are you using the roll up like a power film or what do you use and what do you prefer to use?
The power film was basically out of my budget. This is the 3-panel 100-watt that I used to have hanging out my window, literally hanging out my window with a couple of J hooks in the frame inside. But yeah, I've got this one for 100-watt, and then I've got a 50-watt folding one. That's a 3-panel, and I set them up, drape it on the hood of the car, plug it in. Yeah.
Thank you.
I got one for you, Smitty.
Yeah, Ken.
Yeah, the Dakota batteries that you mentioned, is that the who makes the battery or sells them, or
They make them. Yeah.
they do make them? Would they have a website or?
Oh, yeah. Dakota Lithium. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Just search for Dakota battery and they
Okay,
got
should be easy enough.
yeah, a lot of fishermen and ice fishermen use them.
Yeah.
Competitive people. And I really was turned on them because of the parallel. They had a person with a sailboat that had 20 of them, 2010 amp hours stacked in parallel for
Yeah,
current.
in parallel. Yeah.
But they'll work down to minus 30, I think. You can
Wow.
draw out of them at minus, you have to be above freezing to charge. Or you could, I saw a picture today, the guy had it sitting next to a snowbank in a tent and operating his ice fishing gear off of, I
Wow.
don't know, if he had batteries for ice fishing gear, but he had it in his ice fishing tent sitting on the
Huh.
snow. So,
Good. I'll have to check that out. All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Good job too. Very good.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Charlie?
I just have another comment. Let me.
Go right ahead.
Yes, in terms of batteries, if people are looking for like lithium, what life bulb basically, and you're not going with Dakota, you're looking for something else because of price or whatever, beware because the cheap batteries usually do not have low temp protection. So if you try to charge it under low temperature, you're gonna mess up the battery. So if you never, like I have some battery here that they don't have but they are in my shack, so I don't use them on the field. So I charge them, so they'll never reach that low temperature unless there's a issue here with the heating. But at that point, I will disconnect it and not charge. So if you're looking at other batteries, make sure that they have low temperature protection.
Yeah.
That they don't, the battery cannot be charged if it reaches low temperature.
Any other questions from anybody?
I have a question. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep, go
What is
ahead,
your-
Steve.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, excuse me. What is the source of all your connectors in your connector box and some of your portable packs? Where you screw them on and drill through and stuff? Is that Amazon also?
Yeah, I bought them at the Hamfest mostly.
Quicksilver? Is that Quicksilver? He supplies a lot of that stuff.
Quicksilver, yeah.
Could be, they look familiar. I was just curious if it was any different than that.
Yeah, the instructions for the distribution box version 2 has a picture of his display from the last Hamfest this year. So I actually bought some of the parts to build the new one that's
Great.
documented.
And the last question I have for you, you mentioned a super antenna. Is that the brand of the antenna?
Yeah, it's a
It's been around for 20 years.
Is it? Okay. And it's portable, so that's good.
yeah, that's it there, and you have a loading coil that you can adjust and a whip and a couple of extensions, and you just match it to and some counterpoise.
I
And
think they make a ruler with the markings for suggested for each band and mode, I think.
yeah, they got a card that you use to set up to get you within range for the SWR. Then I fine tune it with the tester. But yeah, it's slightly worn out. Different options. You can buy a 60-meter coil, an 80-meter coil, the 2-meter duplexer coil. I've got the 80 and the 2-meter, and they come in very handy. Quick to set up, real portable. It comes with the bag. So yeah, it's nice. I like it.
And then with all those different bands that you're on, you have to lay down different lengths of counterpoises.
Now, I usually throw everything out that I've got.
Okay.
And, see how it works. Yeah.
It'll find itself. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. By the way,
Sure.
great presentation. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, very good, Charlie. Thank you very much. And his presentation is up on the HCA website. And you can find it up there. You can download it and take a look at it. I was reading it the other day. It's in PDF format. So you can take you can take a look at it there. And if you haven't been reading Zero Beat the last 6 months, kudos to Ken, KC1IKA. He's putting out a top-notch newsletter. So we all thank you for that, Ken. If you haven't read it lately or taken a look at it, you're missing out. So before we go to the final part here, are there any last-minute announcements or anything anybody wants to comment on? Alrighty, let's rock and roll here. All right, so coming up, we have in February we have DX Engineering. I believe you said, Gary, it's going to be how to design a contest station. That'll be our presentation for the monthly meeting on Friday, the first Friday in February. We also have 2 share the knowledge sessions in February. Tuesday, February 8th at 7 p.m. We're going to have intro to FT8 and FT4. So if you've been hearing about it, you don't know what the heck it is, Don, N1DM, is going to be joining us and explaining how to get into FT8 and FT4. There's a few other modes you can get into too, but he'll explain what it is and the basics, and if you want to do it. To some, it's the solve everything mode. To others, it's anti-CW. But whatever it is, it's just another mode for us hams to use, and you can learn all about it on Tuesday, February 8th. And on Tuesday, February 22nd at 7 p.m., Traffic Handling and the Radiogram by Marcia KW1U. If you have an interest in any of that, she'll give a great presentation. She's very knowledgeable and will be able to explain everything, and should be very interesting. So that's on Tuesday, February 22nd. March and April, I'm working on. I've got at least 3 people that are waiting to settle down and give me the date that they're available. In March, Marcel, AA1WH, is going to be talking about ballooning. And April is show and tell. So Charlie's been building all these fantastic boxes and battery stuff and all that. And hopefully by the time April rolls around, you guys out there will have been building something or started building something. So April is our annual show and tell. There's going to be prizes for for the entrance and for the winning. However, the judges decide the winners to be, or maybe everybody who enters will get a prize. We'll see how that goes. But that's the April meeting. It's always a lot of fun. It's always very interesting, whether you're making a quarter wave antenna or a J-pole, or you're building an amplifier, or whatever you may be building. Present it. If you're drawing out plans to put your tower in, or drilling a hole in the roof of your car, if you're brave enough to do that, you want to hear about it and present it, and you might win a prize in the April meeting. May, we're still working on, it hasn't been determined yet. And then June, we have elections and field day talk. June 25th is field day weekend this year. We're going to start talking about that probably next month or the month after. We have some nifty ideas, new ideas to add some excitement to field day. I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll get into that next month or the month after. For the full list of meetings, you can see Zero Beat, and you can see the HRA website. And other than that, Winter Field Day is coming up, and I know there's another contest, either a CQ or an ARL contest. I think there was a RIDI contest coming up, and there's something else coming up, I believe. So I hope you hear everybody on the air. The bands have been popping. They're great. I worked Australia with 10 watts this afternoon on 20 meters. It was awesome. And that's it for now. I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight. It was a great meeting. Charlie, fantastic job. Oh,
One thing, Larry.
go ahead, Ken.
Okay, I just thought of it. As far as Zero Beat, in January, I just started something. Hopefully it gets some popularity. Is basically showing off your shack. Need somebody to step up. I'm sure everybody likes to show what they got and what they built. So for February, and if it continues, if people want it, somebody just contact me. I'll tell you what you need. Couple of pictures, little brief description, and I'll get you in the next month. Just need somebody with some volunteer.
Yeah, it was a great picture of Pete,
Great
W1RM.
Yep. Pete W1RM was in there in this one.
He's a top-notch CW guy. So if anybody wants to show off their shack, take a picture, or have your wife or your spouse or a friend take a picture of you in front of your radios. Doesn't have to be your shack, could be your car, could be your portable, could be sitting up on a hill, playing with your radio out in the snow or in a POTA or
Yep.
a soda situation, whatever the case may be. Could be just holding an HT, you know,
Yep.
and discuss your shack. Everybody wants to read about it. It's not too small. Can guarantee that, especially with all the cool radios that are out there these days. So last call, any last minute announcements or anything? Okay, cool. Well, everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. Hope to hear you guys on the air, and we'll see you on where's the date? We'll see you on the 18th of January for the Long Island CW Club, and everybody have a great weekend and a great evening. See you
Good
next
night,
month.
everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Charlie,
738.
thanks, Larry.
Thank you,
73,
Charlie.
everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Thanks for
Larry.
coming out, Fred.
You're welcome. We'll see you tomorrow.
Great job,
Thanks,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Thank you,
Really
Charlie.
appreciate it. Thank you much.
Thank
night,
you,
all.
Everybody.
everyone.
Good
Hey,
job,
Ed, how are
everybody.
you? Oh, and Steve's there too. Steve, did you get a radio yet?
Yeah, I got one of the Anytone units.
Okay, so have you been on the air with it yet?
Yeah, Steve and I did some talking last weekend.
Good.
And that was the first successful call. But we're still trying to figure out how to make the hotspots work. I bought two of them. I bought a little one and a bigger one, and my good friend Mr. Shore, WA1ZEV, is trying to figure them out for me.
And I'm still having.
I'm stumped.
Well, like I said, if Tim KA2A helped me and a whole bunch of others with our DMRs. Jurgen might be able to figure it out.
Yeah, I got mine running in my hotspot. It was a little bit tricky to set up. I don't know which one you get. I bought a cheap one from China, but I got it to work.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure we're going to try it again, maybe Sunday. Well, this Sunday I'm busy. But anyway, Steve and I will get together and we're still stumped. We'll reach out to you.
Larry, don't we have a DMR channel actually, or HCRA?
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't been on DMR in a while. Jeff NT1K set up an HCRA DMR channel. But I think I've only heard people on it a handful of times in the last 2 years.
I mean, we could try, and that would even work for me out of the basement.
Certainly.
Okay.
Well, you can coordinate. Steve,
Yeah.
that's Jurgen NV1Q. He's in
Yeah.
Southwick now, and
Yeah, and ask her that
you and Steve can reach out to him, and you guys can figure that out.
That's very nice because I'm lost with this. It's still in initialize mode. And
Which hotspot did you get?
I have the box right here. Some spot RPI Elite 3.5.
I don't know which one it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Steve, reach out to Tim KA2A. He's the one that helped me. I'll text you his contact info. I gave it to Steve earlier, but Tim was he can explain everything and he knows how to get it all working. He's fantastic with it. He'll be able to help get you running in 30 minutes.
And Steve, Tim was talking to me about the smaller hotspot, which is why I bought that one. Yes, the tiny little guy, right?
I've got the bigger one. He had me up and running in minutes.
Yeah, and the bigger one I got at Hamfest. You know, you were standing right next to me when I bought it. So.
Right.
But even that said, you know, we're still struggling. So, but we'll get it, and we'll reach out for help.
Yeah. Well, you're going to work on. You got talk to Tim again. He's a member of the club. But Tim he can walk you through step by step to get it programmed and get it running. It's really very easy.
Yeah.
If you
Okay,
know what you're
good.
doing.
And when
Ah,
all else fails, read the instructions, right?
You could do that too. Jeff NT1K might be able to help you. I know he's really busy. But I would start with Tim and Jurgen first, and I think you guys will be in good shape.
okay.
Great, super.
I don't
Real
know if you-
appreciate it. Thanks for hosting this, Larry, and
well, it's a
that was
club,
a-
but you're welcome.
real good show tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Charlie did an awesome job.
Take care, folks. See you
All right.
later.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Larry, how's the ballon working?
The balance working great. I don't know why it took us 2 years to get it working, but it's working great there, Bob.
So you can use a 4-to-1 when the weather changes. Keep using that one because I have no need for it. But get yourself a beefy 4-to-1 and DX Engineering or something. They've come down in price, or even Ballon Designs. They have you do it yourself now on Ballon Designs. I see you can build your own. They gives you the stuff, and they're pretty good quality. So and not expensive either, relatively. But good. Glad it's working. So 160 and up, huh? That's good.
Yeah, no, it's working great. I was on 160.
Yeah.
I've been on 80. I use it for the 2 bands, and it's been working fantastic. So
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
whatever,
great.
I don't know why the 4-to-1 didn't work when we were playing with it initially.
We didn't have the extra legs on it initially, I think, too.
Oh, okay, that's right.
So
That's
maybe
right.
you had to have everything together, and it finally fell into place. We're great.
Okay, cool. All right. Sounds good. Let's see here. There's something else. 2 things in chat. Okay, you guys have a good evening. Hope to catch you on the air. And if you guys are going ice fishing or whatnot for the winter field day, bring your floaties with you. I think you're going to need it. Have a good night. Bye.